I'm back here at the Frankoma cabinet. So many of you enjoyed the tour of my collection, and I'm honored that you did, that I thought I would just follow up with a few more things. There were some important things I didn't say the other night in terms of collecting Frankoma pottery, and I thought I would just highlight those things and also share a few more favorite pieces with you that I didn't have in the cabinet the other night. The first big thing for Frankoma pottery collectors is the clay. Of course, with pottery, the color of clay often makes a big difference. So the old Frankoma pottery is Ada clay. It's called ADA. It was dug at Ada, Oklahoma. It's a nice honey tan colored clay. And I love it because with the rutile glazes, it really creates a softer effect. And it just has a nice base for all the glazes. The Sipapu Clay, the Newark clay, dug at Sipapu, Oklahoma, is a dark red terracotta. And it was chosen because it created more dramatic contrast with the rutile glazes. To me, it's just a little too dark. It's a little too much contrast. I really prefer the softness of the old clay and the effect that it has with those beautiful rutile glazes. I'll show you some of the old clay, what it looks like. It's pretty consistent in this cabinet. So this little individual baker here, love this. It's this nice honey tan color. And most of the pieces in this cabinet, in fact, I think all of them are Ada clay. I'll highlight this pattern because I didn't mention it the other night, but it's there. It's also on this little sugar bowl. It's called the Mayan Aztec pattern, and it's one of John Frank's nods to the Native American cultures. He had a great sense of incorporating Americana and the Wild West and the Native American culture, and I love that he really tried to integrate the three. This is a piece that I dearly love. I got this a long time ago, probably 25 or 30 years ago at a flea market. And I admit I paid $50 for that dancing Native American chief. Every Frankoma collector wants to get their dancing, used to be called the Indian chief. I'm calling it the Native American chief. It's a beautiful, beautiful sculpture. I think a man named Joseph Taylor, who did a lot of early Frankoma sculptures, designed it years ago, back probably in the 30s or 40s. This comes in lots of different colors. There's even one in which the headdress is painted all different colors of glaze. It's really beautiful and worth a lot. But I love this one. I love the matte black glaze. I think it really highlights the effects and details of the sculpture beautifully. It's a honey tan, and you can see just right there on the right, there is an incised mark that says Frankoma. Most of the pieces I have in this cabinet are stamped that way. Some might have it written into the mold, but for the most part, all the pieces in this cabinet have an incised Frankoma stamp. Now pay attention to the O in Frankoma. There you see it's oblong. But the older pieces, 34 to 35, 1934, 1935, have a different stamp. And you can see the O in this one is round. And the round O pieces are rare and obviously worth more. I love most of these pieces too because they're old shapes and old glazes, and it just adds to their beauty and their value. That has the round O. This has the round O. So I have a few pieces with that old mark, but for the most part, mine are typically the oblong O. Love this piece. I just want to highlight this glaze. It has a beautiful speckle, and it's a nice rich brown. Again, as I said the other night, I love earth tones. This has the oblong O, a little glaze even got up in the incised mark, but I think that's a great piece. I don't see a lot of those, and I love that brown. Lots of people aren't so big of fans of the brown, so I'm happy to buy it when I get the opportunity. I want to highlight too the minis. Frankoma did a lot of these great little mini pictures. That one is so unique. It's just a neat shape. That little cornucopia I told you about, my dad found, and he cherished it for a while, but finally broke down and gave it to me. This little green mini vase is a very unique shape as well. This little mini pitcher, you'll see this a lot. It's a wagon wheel pattern. The neat thing about it is that it's a mini version of a larger Frankoma pitcher. This wagon wheel pattern, there's a whole dinnerware set designed in this pattern, and John Frank decided to do mini versions of the larger pieces. I think that's really cool. It adds a nice family effect to a collection. So I'm going to show you one more piece that I did not include the other night, and one that I dearly love. This is a little living room set. It would sit on the dining or the coffee table in a living room. And these two vases are called pillow vases. I don't really know what that means, but it was designed to go together as a set. So I had these two, and one year for Christmas, my mom, who works very hard at Christmas, found me these wonderful ashtray and cigarette cases that go with the pillow vases. So the neat thing, it's shaped like Oklahoma. John Frank did a lot of that, and they have felt on the bottom actually, but are old clay. And it's really cool how they interlock, and the lid comes off here, and cigarettes were kept in there. Little notches for a burning cigarette. Just a clever design, and really well made. So I cherish that set, even though I don't smoke. One more thing I just noticed. These horse bookends. These have been considered to be pretty valuable over the years, but I think there are a lot more on the market than they had realized initially. So they might have lost some of their value, but I think it's such a great piece. John Frank did a lot of horses like this, and I cherish these bookends a lot. So my collection is a nice warm place to gather in the midst of these days of being at home in a lot of the evenings, and it's a good place for me to spend time. I love looking at it all, and sometimes I have to admit it gives me the fever to go back on eBay and start hunting again. I hope your time at home is going well, and as we're in Holy Week, these are very sacred days. They will be different this year, but there might be a gift in that. Sometimes it's when we change our routines. Sometimes it's when things are very different that we're more receptive to what might be offered in the midst of them. Holy Thursday Mass is at 7 p.m. It will live stream. Good Friday service is at 7 p.m. as well, and it will live stream. There's no Easter Vigil this year. That's a strange thing for me to say, but since Rome did not allow us to do any initiation rites or to have a fire at the beginning or the procession with the candle, it really didn't make sense to proceed with the vigil. So there's no vigil at St. Elizabeth. We will have Easter Sunday Mass live streamed at 10 a.m. on Sunday. So I hope these sacred days go well for you and your family. Keep your heart open to all the good that these days offer, and pray for the sick, pray for health caregivers, and for all in need.